Court Action versus Private Arbitration. May 25, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Most of what passes for court action in our present morass of ignorance is instead the private processing of corporate tribunal decisions that are not the actions of any public court at all. Anytime you see a docket sheet where the style of the name of the court and the plaintiffs and the defendants all match, you are looking at an action in a private corporate tribunal designed to administratively settle disputes among the officials and employees and shareholders of the corporation. If the court is captioned, named and described in an upper and lowercase name and the plaintiffs and defendants are two, you are looking at a Territorial Administrative Tribunal case. If the court is captioned in all capital letters and the plaintiffs and defendants are also, you are looking at a municipal court tribunal. These administrative court tribunals conduct about 90% of all court actions in this country. They all function by presuming that you are either an officer or an employee or a shareholder or a dependent of a corporation, and assume that whatever is being brought forward for adjudication is an internal dispute to be settled according to the internal statutory laws of the corporation, administrative code, and state statutes and public policies of that corporation. So, once again, it is up to you to declare your law and to choose which court you do business with, and also up to you to decide whether you address a court at all, unless of course, someone else is trying to choose your law and your court for you. That's another whole discussion. For the moment, let's just concentrate on the fact that when you bring forward something for settlement, it is your choice of law and your decision to address either a court or seek private arbitration that largely determines the outcome. Most people in this country approve of land jurisdiction courts where the Ten Commandments form the basis for the law being administered, but those courts were taken out of action surreptitiously by our public servants in order to better serve themselves. So now what? A corporate administrative tribunal doesn't fit who you are or what you need in terms of services, and the gazillion codes and statutes and policies of these corporations don't meet your needs as a living man or woman. Chances are you are just waking up to the fact that you are being impersonated as a corporate entity and a legal fiction entity, and not being recognized as a living man or a lawful person, either one. Chances are you don't know the variations of laws and codes and statutes and all the corporate legalese, all the court procedures, all the court rules. So that leaves you a stranger in a strange land and makes you easy pickings for these predators. You really are unprepared to interact with these courts, and they know it. They set it up that way, the better to profit themselves and to keep rigid control of you and your assets. But when you are bringing the action, you do have an option. You can seek private arbitration instead. Arbitration has many advantages over court actions, not the least of which is simplicity. In arbitration, all you have to do is establish the form of law, the identities of the parties, and the nature of the conflict. You can sit down together like rational people and speak plain English and be heard. The arbiter is free to render a judgment based on the principles of justice apart from any corporate policies, and they often do so with great prejudice against those perpetuating injustice. You just don't hear about these cases because they are private, truly private, as opposed to the quasi-private corporate tribunal actions that are so common. An arbitration action does not establish any precedent for anyone but you and whoever else is party to the arbitration. It does not establish any res judicata. But what it can and often does manage to deliver is justice. So when you are standing there feeling utterly bewildered by the plethora of undisclosed courts and court operations that have nothing to do with you as a living man or woman, remember the option you do have: private arbitration. As a result of the corruption of the corporate court systems and the basic fact that the courts are obliged to make insupportable presumptions against you to even bring a case into their jurisdiction, a very lively business has sprung up for private arbitration services, and you will find them under that heading in many metropolitan areas. Make haste to make peace with your brother on your way to court, and take a detour via private arbitration services instead. Until we have our own courts set up and functioning again, this is the best option for people searching for justice.